and we are live with Crossing the Streams. How are you, everybody?
St. Patty's Day edition.
We got a full house today, a real full house, and I'm on my wife's laptop, so my computer kind of decided to die just before the show. So hopefully everything will go okay. So bear with us. We do have a special guest. Fred is back. He's special.
Welcome back.
Hi, Fred.
Nicely
Our
done.
second return guest. So we're going to kick off with the theme song, everybody. Fred, take it away.
Okay, if I could see it, here's the story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me. I can't see the lyrics, so I don't know. They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff and Ron and Sal and Bob. And there's Howard and Zach. They call it Crossing Streams.
Fred.
And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, we crossed the streams.
We crossed the
streams.
We crossed the streams. That's the way we do it here. We cross the streams.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Nice job, Fred.
Hey, thanks.
Good job, Fred.
I had to add Zach in there. I got a Zach crush.
Jeff, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I have tech support on one computer, and I got this. So we're gonna. Sorry about that. It's gonna be a little hectic today, but we got a great show. Fred is here again. We're excited to have Fred back.
Welcome, Fred.
And so this is Fred. This is Fred. Look at that. This is Fred
Sexy.
Carroll. Yeah.
You look intimidating, Fred.
Fred, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about you.
What do you want to know? Well, first, obviously,
Like long walks on the beach.
I'm a father. I'm an author. I'm a screenwriter, a podcaster, and I own a video company that produces videos. I actually made you guys a video. I don't know if you saw it yet. Zach might have seen it, I think, but I made a Crossing the Streams video for you guys.
Wow.
Nice.
And I made one for all of Mick Manhattan's Scene Snobs channel. I made video openers for every single one, but that's what I do. That's how I make my income, and writing books. And that's about it.
Nice.
For you, man.
And I'm an asshole.
That is amazing.
That's perfect.
We were told.
That is great. And we have some comments coming in. Yeah, Mick, my new angle is it's a laptop.
He has a new angle
Yeah.
and lower resolution.
Yeah, and so bearing with us. So, but we got a good show for you. We're gonna. Sorry about that, guys.
God.
I'm on
Jeff
a small
is
screen.
significantly flustered.
Jammed up.
Jammed up. Well, I can't. It's like I have like this small screen, and
The
I have text
stuttering
on the
prick,
other
yeah.
hand. So yeah. Well, hey, if you wanted to check out episode 14, we covered Surviving Death, Too Funny to Fail, The Great British Bake Off, which I'm addicted to, and Titans. And we did not cover WandaVision, but maybe we'll cover it this week. But right now we're going to go into Zach, and Zach's going to talk about the Netflix. And then after that, we're going to talk Starman, High Score, Punky Brewster, Unorthodox, and Biggie. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go live with the Netflix.
All right, let's go, Zach.
Yay! Honestly, it's worth it just to hear Jeff try to say this name every single week. That's like the best part of my week. But yeah, everybody, Netflix metrics. What I do is I found out that there is a new category that everyone has, which is the top 10 in the US on Netflix. I found out that out of the 204 million people that have Netflix, 74 million of them do live in the United States. And this list is based on what people watch the day before. And this gets updated. I live in Colorado. This gets updated about 12:30. So I have roughly 6 hours until the show to watch 10 things and complain about some of them. So here's a couple that are on there today. Number 10, you have Paradise PD, which is a terrible cartoon. It is like if just the flashbacks of Family Guy were put together in the most grotesque way. It is boring, but for some reason it's on there and people like it. So if you're into just grotesque cartoons, Paradise PD, it's been on there for about 8 days now, so you probably got a little bit of time. Number 8, for some unknown effing reason, iCarly's still on there. It is on there. It has been 37 days now. I have to just continue to see this. Please, everybody, stop watching the show. It is not worth your time. It is not a good show. Only people like Jeff Dwoskin can like the show. But one thing that popped on there today.
I love iCarly.
No, I know you do, and you shouldn't. But what popped up there today in number 5 spot is a movie called Savages, which I actually saw back in 2012. And this movie is similar to like a Western meets a stoner buddy movie. A very, very weird movie, but it stars Taylor Kitsch and Aaron Taylor Johnson from Kick-Ass, and also Blake Lively. It's directed by Oliver Stone. It's a cool movie to watch, but it's not a great movie, but it is very, very interesting. So that I was cool. It was very interesting to see that pop up today. So in the number 5 spot is Savages.
Is that the one where they're dealing drugs?
Yeah, it's the weird drug one where they both love Blake Lively, and then they both kind of share her, and then they love each other too. It is an interesting, weird movie, but it is worth watching because Oliver Stone has a cool vision, and this movie is weird, but whatever. In the number 4 spot, I know that Lip over there, he likes his documentaries, so this one I put on there for you, which is The Lost Pirate Kingdom. It is a weird mini series. It actually does a better job than I think most miniseries do. And oh my God, dude, I am going to fight you. I'm not as whatever the opposite of Stan is what I am. But this Lost Pirate Kingdom, it's kind of like kitschy and it's a bit fake. There's sets, but it also has real information. It is the weirdest, hokey, cheesy thing that I've seen, but it is interesting. It's 6 episodes, very, very tight, but it is about the Lost Pirate Kingdom, but it is done in a very, very cool way. So I would suggest watching that.
I'll be looking for that.
Yeah, it's been on there for 2 days now. It's probably going to hang out for a little bit, so you're okay there. But yeah, Lost Pirate Kingdom. In the number 1 spot is one of the weirdest things that I've seen recently. It's called Yes Day. This is a Jennifer Garner movie with also Edgar Ramirez. The only thing I remember seeing him from, he plays Ares in those Clash of Titans movies, and then the Wrath of Titans. He's the god Ares. I just saw, I was like, oh, that's the guy from Yes Day, unfortunately. But yeah, so this movie, it is a family movie where Jennifer Garner is the mom of 3 kids, and she is a tight mom and has rules and whatever, but she used to be cool and she used to jump out of airplanes. So she decides that one day, if her kids listen to her and do all the right stuff, that she's going to say yes to everything they ask for one whole day. And, they dress up like superheroes and she puts glitter on her face. They do some crazy, wacky stuff. But anyway, for some reason, this trash movie is number 1. It's on there for 4 days now.
Nauseating.
It is honestly, it's like just sipping on a pixie stick. It is like so saccharine sweet for no reason. I kept watching. I was like, why am I still watching this thing? But it is nauseating. But she's
able to get back into acting
dramatic
since selling out to Cap One.
Absolutely, yeah. I think she even she produced this thing, I think, but it is a cutesy little family thing, but it is awfully sweet. So that is the number 1 spot. It's been there for 4 days now, and if you're gonna watch anything on there, Lost Pirate Kingdom is the coolest thing, and Savages is probably the weirdest thing. So
there's no such thing as selling out in Hollywood.
That's true. You're just making money for weird stuff, but but yeah, that's what I found today on Netflix top 10 in the US. So that's that's it. It's a weird list. It's weird. It baffles me every day. Like, how'd Savages get on there? What a weird movie, but whatever.
And iCarly just I've seen Savages. It's weird, but it's good.
Yeah, it's not a bad movie. It's better than fine. I liked it. I had a good time rewatching it. It's a weird movie, but yeah, it's good. And yeah, iCarly, I don't get it. I don't know who's watching this except for maybe Fred Carroll. I don't know. I know Jeff is watching it just to make me angry, but whatever. Whatever.
I put it on all 4 of my screens. Just
amazing.
There are legions of school age kids who have this in the background while they're attending classes right now.
Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why it's in the top 10 every day. The school teachers are playing it. Didn't you say that already?
Yeah, but I think also for parents that have children that are around.
Yeah, it's got to be it.
Ages and my daughter's ages, we grew up watching this with them, so now we're hooked on it.
Yeah,
that's sad. That's sad.
It is.
There's actually good. There's good stuff to watch. You know that, right? There's good things to watch.
There is.
Okay, good.
But we can't get you. We need to get you angry. That's what the goal is.
Oh, yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Sasha says everyone sells out.
Everyone sells at some point.
You make a penny, you sell out.
I'm ready to sell out. I'm excited about it.
Everything's
there's a fine line between selling out and making supplemental income.
Yeah. And I will sell out. Also, just so everyone knows, I've seen Fred's video. He keeps sending it to me. It's a great little video. He does a great job, and I can see why he makes money doing it because he keeps asking me for money for making these videos. So
sell out.
Yeah, he's like, "Can I have money now?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right, sure."
All right, well, we're gonna start a GoFundMe for Fred after this. Let's jump into the first show. It's kind of an unorthodox way to start.
Really? Wait, hold on. I think I see what you did there.
Look at you.
Nicely done. So so I debated actually reviewing this one because frankly, there's a lot of things I hate about this limited series, which is on Netflix. And I think for me, most notably, it's the lead, Shira Haas, who I'm sure is a fine actor. She's Israeli and has done a bunch of shows out there, but she presents herself throughout the whole series as like, monotone, boring, really not all that likable, even though we're rooting for her through the whole series because we hate the circumstances that she finds herself in. We hate the circumstances kind of more than we hate her. So you do end up rooting for her. But for those of you that don't know the show, it's an adapted screenplay. It's from the best-selling book Unorthodox by Deborah Feldman, who tells a pretty amazing story. We actually read it with my wife of how this woman escaped an ultra-Orthodox brand of Judaism in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and she did this by moving to Berlin to find her mother, who was forced to give her up when she was a baby. So the show was directed by a woman named Maria Schrader, who is also German. She's a German director she's won a bunch of awards in Europe, and she did actually, I think, a really great job creating some like layers to this story, which is in my mind kind of like the ultimate fish out of water story. The show is filled with all kinds of contradictions, which make it all kinds of compelling. It is a really interesting show. First, of course, you have a Jew fleeing New York, going to Berlin to avoid persecution, which is super contradictory right away. And it's hard to wrap your head around that. But once you do, you start to recognize it's a super complicated story. This is a completely sheltered, uncultured, uneducated woman, and she's got to adapt really quickly to what is a diverse, liberal world in Berlin. And she's surrounded by people who don't understand what she's been through or who she is or what this community was all about. And all this time, it's not so in your face, but you can tell that she's got to keep her personal strength to see this thing through. Otherwise, she's going to fall back into the community because she's got nowhere else to go. So it's pretty cool. One of the more compelling characters is a dude named Moshe, who's actually a member of this religious community and who agrees to fly to Germany to bring this character home. And we find out, and this is a big part of the story, that he's also a former escapee from the group who did come back to the group. But once he's away from Williamsburg, he begins to show that he has a less righteous side to himself, which is why he wanted to leave the community in the first place. So it just goes to show that once you're outside of the community, people start to evolve into the real version of what they are. Anyway, it's a quick story. It's only 4 parts. It's subtitled. It is absolutely thought-provoking, and I do recommend it, even though I do have concerns about the monotone quality of the lead, Shara Haas. But other than that, I think it is a fantastic story and worthy of my review. So
yeah, I've seen this, and I'm going to have to disagree with your initial remarks. I think that her character, being a repressed Jewish woman who is finding herself, is perfect. I think that she displays restraint, because the moment that when she breaks and that tearful moment is so powerful because of how restrained she was throughout the entire thing. The show is showing you how forced down and oppressed certain people are in this religion, and I think that she portrays that role very, very well. I found this show to be very provocative. I loved it. It was gorgeous. I researched the people that did the wardrobe, because it is a beautiful, beautiful show. But I really think that the lead actor did a phenomenal job of being repressed and being pushed down. So I will agree, it is definitely worth the watch. It is a very, very good thing. But I think that the acting is a little better than you're giving it credit for.
She's a good actress. There's no doubt that she's a good actress. I would have preferred the story start to show her evolution in a way like they did at the very end with, and I don't want to give anything away, but it would have been nice to have seen that evolution through the course of the story, perhaps a bit more. But I hear you, and I respect actually your opinion on that. But it's a very compelling story.
I saw this movie.
Was she
too.
flat, like she was? It was her character, or flat like Sofia Coppola in Godfather 3?
No,
Yeah,
I think Zach's point is fair, that she's portraying a very repressed character. So the idea of her expressing herself is probably anathema to who she actually is. But I would just say that you wait for that expression throughout the course of the series, and at some point, if you don't see that, you start to, you're waiting for it a long time. I
agree, but it is worth it when it happens, because when it does happen, it is a beautiful, beautiful moment, and I think it's worth it because it is a short series. I think it's worth it.
Agreed.
Oh, Angie, we got something here. We got. Hang on one second. Hey, I saw it too, and it disturbed me. I found it. I mean, it was good. It was, I didn't love the way she was treated, and that it didn't make me feel good about that community.
Well, and I'll say this, and Jeff, you're Jewish as I am, as Howard is. For those of us, the most of us here in the States are, a Reformed version of Judaism. We have nothing in common with these people. In fact, like, we know less about these people than some of our Gentile counterparts. It's really hard to understand being a Jew, and somehow being part of the same, title as these folks, because it's a completely different religion, completely different experience for these people. And these people, if you read the book, these are Hungarian Jews. It's called the Satmar community, which is within Orthodox, very far right. So this is the most extreme of versions. So
and the Yiddish they use is just beautiful sounding, and I've never seen that display on television, so that was very cool for me. I like when I get to learn something in a new style of something, and this was a sect that I had no idea about and was aggressively repressive, and I was a big fan of this.
The Yiddish is amazing. It's all subtitles, so unless you're sensitive to it, you're not going to notice it. But between the Hebrew, the Yiddish, and then German and English spread into it, there's a lot of languages going on in this show. It's interesting.
That was great, Ron. And speaking of learning and new languages and tapping into communities,
here we go.
I don't think anything would be a better follow-up than the Punky Brewster reboot on NBC Peacock. And Fred's going to take us through that. But everyone who isn't a big fan of Punky, take it away, Fred.
Yeah. This is my girl. So
never saw an episode.
So, well,
I did.
You're probably too elder. But the reboot of the one thing about it is it's an odd, quirky watch, but a well done reboot at the same time. It's got so many different things. First of all, I want to say that Salil Moon Fry, I have a crush on her, huge crush on her, always have. But I have a bigger crush on her because her 4 kids in real life are named Jagger, Poem, Lyric, and Story. And that is the coolest story you could. Okay? If you're a writer, those are cool stories. I want to name my show. So I'm going to tell you right now, this is like an R-rated Brady Bunch. The way they did it. You don't know it until about episode 3, though. So I have positives and I have negatives.
I'm listening.
There's a few positives, a few negatives. I've got a few. So let me get to this. She's a grown adult divorced from her musician husband, who's played by Freddie Prinze Jr., who's really, it's good to see him back in shows. They have 3 kids. And Punky takes a young girl who is remarkably like her from the original. But here's my first question, and perhaps this is just me, and I don't want to cross any lines here, but the 3 kids that they have, they never mention, they mention them as if they're the 3 kids of Freddie Prinze Jr. and Punky, but they don't ethically compare to each other. And I'll show you why. So this is the oldest daughter in the show right there. Okay. And here's the next, there's the son. And there's the other son. Now, how I just don't get it. You're dealing with
who's the father? Mario Lopez?
Well, this is where I struggle with the problem. I don't understand how this could be their 3 kids, but I think they're just being trapped into that political safe zone and correctness and satisfying the masses and all that. This is just a personal issue I deal with. I can't stand watching television commercials that have to throw it in your face that, you got every race is involved in every commercial. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't even care about stuff like that. None of that bothers me, but you don't have to trick me. You're not fooling me, and stuff. Nobody could afford 2 Lexuses at Christmas time. I don't care. Nobody could afford
with a bow on them.
Right, with a big bow. That bow's not but this is what I did like and didn't like about it. So it's filled with laugh tracks. I'm not a big fan of the laugh tracks. And I didn't expect to enjoy this after watching the first 2 episodes. But then in between their weak dad jokes and horrible acting, bam. She mentions needing to groom her garden before going out on a date. And I was hooked from there. Because
groom the garden, huh?
Yeah,
sometimes the garden's got to be groomed.
It does.
So when Fred says that he's a video producer, I think it's starting to come clean.
Yeah, and he makes good money.
It's like
it's better.
He works for Brazzers.
They introduce sexuality. They introduce lesbians, and then they bring in tension.
So it is like the Brady Bunch.
Yes, it's just like the Brady Bunch. They did do a good job with Sherry Johnson. Sherry Johnson returns as Sherry, but she's a lesbian now, and she returns to the show. Henry returns in flashbacks. I don't know how much you guys know about Punky Brewster, but she was raised by
the old guy.
Yeah, Henry's the old guy, but he's dead. George Gaines is dead. Yeah, he's dead. But he did live to be 98 years old. So
nice. I remember that guy, yeah.
Let's not cry. You'll remember him as Commandant Guard from Police Academy.
Yes.
That's who.
Yeah.
He was Commandant Guard. And a side note on that is all 5 of the first police academies were filmed while he was on Punky Brewster. They were filmed from 84 to 88. So he was doing that, but that's a side note.
Nice.
So
Punky Brewster was great on Friends.
Okay, wait. I have a problem real fast. I think I think having an issue with the brownness of someone's skin as an issue with a show is one of the stupidest things that can be brought up in any conversation ever. Just because they're slightly too brown for you does not make a show too bad. Freddie Prinze Jr. is a person of color. Having children that are of color is fine, and I don't think the show is actually a really good extension of what Punky Brewster used to be, but I really think you pointing out that they're a little too brown for you might be kind of a wrong thing.
Never said they were too brown for me. I said they were so
I don't know. You showed pictures of them, and you're like, well, I don't know if this is cool because of PC culture and race, religion. And
you got 3 of them from the same children. You know, when the parents are the same people, usually the kids look alike.
They never said who the dad was of these kids. You're assuming this, number one, but number two, just because the color of the skin does not affect a TV show at all, and I will never agree with that.
And Punky Brewster got around.
We're having a Sharon Osbourne moment here, people.
My point wasn't anything to do with the color of their skin versus them looking. Maybe I worded it poorly, but it was more what these kids. They never mentioned them as being adopted or anything throughout the 12 or the 10 series of the thing. And that was my only point, was they don't give you enough information about that. But I don't care. It's political correctness regardless.
You can send
political correctness is not a thing.
Political
correctness is not a thing.
But the little girl that they do take in, they end up taking in another little girl. I think she's going to be a star. Her name's Quinn Copeland. She's very good. She's basically playing Punky Brewster from 30 years ago. But the show overall, it has a lot of strange transitions between family values and then R-rated adult humor. The eldest daughter is absolutely boy crazy, and the parents are very like hippie, like loose about it and push her in these different weird directions. I liked it though. I enjoyed the show, regardless of its flaws.
I'm watching it because I like Punky Brewster. I've always have. Even before her breast reduction. I don't care. I still thought she was hot. She did. She had a breast reduction years ago.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know how I remembered that, but I do.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
We're talking about the right things in the show.
I didn't see the first show, the reboot. I'm just enjoying.
Yeah, it's like listening to my grandfather review shows.
Yeah, this is crazy. There's brown people, but their boobs are smaller now, so it's okay. This is crazy. This is crazy. What show is this?
It must be an Italian.
Crossing the stream, Zach. You signed up for this.
I didn't know that the streams were like these streams. I thought it was like, oh man, if only her boobs were bigger.
Oh, it's so awkward now.
If only they talked about lesbians in episode 1, they had to wait till episode 3 to bring in lesbians, and that kind of made sure that the brown kids were okay with me.
It's no iCarly, but it's okay.
There are brown people in iCarly too.
Oh, here we go with the sorbet.
All right.
Starman.
Twas.
You want me to just go into
it? Sorry, I'm all flustered. You guys know Starman is a movie and a TV show? Yeah, it is.
Wow.
It's both. All right. This is going to be a perfectly non-offensive review. All right, here we
go. We're talking about aliens, and not the ones from Mexico. All right, here we go.
Oh, Jesus.
I just did that to make Zach uncomfortable. So Starman, this is the sorbet to the uncomfortable conversation we just had. This is a 1984 movie, a delightful confection. It's ostensibly a science fiction movie, but it's really a love story, and it's really a kind of a thing where it's everything that you want to have happens in this. Okay, now just like a lot of other movies back then, one of the biggest plot device is that Voyager 2 has been out there in the galaxy with its gold records playing sounds of the Earth, right? And so it captures the attention of an advanced civilization who sends a scout ship to check it out, and we blow it out of the sky. That's what we do. And so this alien lands in Wisconsin, which, by the way, where Sal and I will be at the Kenosha Comedy Club this weekend, Friday and Saturday, 2 shows both nights. Thank you. Yeah. And the ship crashes on Karen Allen's property, and she is a recently widowed young wife, and the alien takes the form of her dead husband, Scott, who looks remarkably like Jeff Bridges. And so this movie, right from that point, really kind of it's a fish out of water thing. I mean, it's an alien on Earth. It's two different beings getting to know each other, and he needs to get to Arizona, so where he can link up with the other ship that's coming to extract him from this violent world. And so it's a road picture, it's a science fiction picture, it's a love story. They get into all kinds of situations where they're in a roadside kind of bar restaurant thing, and he, as an alien, a benevolent healing kind of guy, sees a dead deer strapped to a car of a hunter, and walks up and just touches it and brings it back to life, and it hops off to the hunter's chagrin and creates a big problem. And he gets beaten up. Yes, they wind up in Vegas. Of course, this is what happens in alien road movies. By the way, Charles Martin Smith, my favorite character actor of all time, is in this. And if you like Charles Martin Smith, you want to watch this. Anyway, so they wind up in Vegas. They have no transportation because the car breaks down. But because Jeff Bridges is an all-knowing alien, he simply touches a slot machine. They win $500,000 and get this vehicle, and they can get to the rendezvous point. Well, one of the great things about the movie is that there's a lot left to a lot of the ending. You kind of have to figure out yourself. But as you would think, they fall in love in the way that an alien who's who made himself a clone of her dead husband can. They wind up making love. He tells her that he's put a baby in her. That's actual line from the movie. And that this baby is going to grow up to be a teacher. So I'm not going to tell you the rest of the movie, but it is very sweet, very, like I said, it's a road pick. It's science fiction. It's a love story. I highly recommend it.
All right.
It's a good flick. And he won an award
and it
for that.
It spawned one of the worst TV series of all time.
Robert
it was
Hayes,
on for
did you say?
a season and a half. Robert Hayes, was awful. Don't even look it up. But Jeff Bridges was nominated for a Golden Globe for this, and he should have won an Oscar because it's that good. He's that good in this.
Okay.
Awesome.
Very cool. All right.
Let's go to the comments and see if we have John Carpenter classics.
Definitely better than Lazy.
Hey, Bob.
Yes.
Bob, I just
Sasha,
looked it up.
We agree.
I just looked it up. Sorry to interrupt. Jeff Bridges was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor for this movie.
Oh, for an Academy Award too? Okay.
He was.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think.
Okay.
I mean, he could have won. I don't know who won that year, but he was so good in this and so believable as an alien who's trying to learn language and customs and things. It just it was. I thought it was a fascinating movie. A Glorious Tale. Yes.
When did
Plott,
Casey drop
sir.
when did he drop the R?
I don't know. It's been rough, but he is reconvinced, Bob. So
All
he's
right.
going to watch it again.
I'm happy.
Turning
Right.
people around, baby.
And
I-
it's his
I-
birthday. His birthday today too, Casey's.
Oh, happy
and-
birthday, Casey.
Happy birthday. Oh,
happy
Jerry,
birthday,
Jerry
happy
says
birthday.
amazing basketball.
All right,
jersey.
Jerry
Wait,
Chacon,
see-
loving the
see-
jersey.
Joe Cooper
Nice.
basketball jersey.
And then did everyone see and then Sasha, I don't want your Gravity Falls hat. Zach. Do you want that to go unnoticed?
Fantastic.
Again, I apologize to everyone for being distracted while my other computer was being rebooted. So, and like, I feel like my head looks very large right now. All right. So let's see where let's see where we should go from here. We've got lots of good stuff. And Sal.
All right.
Sal watched Biggie. I got a story to tell. This looks very interesting. I haven't seen this yet. And convince us.
All right. Well, when I first saw the title, guys, when I first saw the title, I thought it was going to be about that big Italian sandwich at Jimmy John's called the Biggie, and it wasn't. It wasn't about that. This is a story of the B.I.G., Notorious B.I.G., Christopher Wallace, and I really like. First of all, I love biographies. So if Jeff will have me on this show in the future, I'm going to do more of them. I love them. But anyway, Christopher Wallace, his mother and his grandmother play a big part in this documentary. He was born in Brooklyn, New York, but his mother and his family's from Jamaica, and his grandmother, who's still living, I believe to this day, she was 94 during this documentary. It just came out in 2021. So she stayed in Jamaica the whole time. And the mother left at a very early age to make a better life for herself and moved to Brooklyn, New York, where she kind of had a short fling with a very unknown politician and a welder, and who left after Christopher was born. So here she is in Brooklyn, New York, raising Christopher Wallace, and at a very early age, just has a fondness for rapping and music. One of the things that stuck out at me is early on, his mother would go back to Jamaica to see the grandmother every single year, every single summer. Even when Christopher was going to school, every summer she would take him back to Jamaica, and he would hang out with this one dude that was rapping and stuff, and Jamaican music and stuff, and it was very influential for him. And then when he come back to Brooklyn, he befriended a musician down the street from him, and he played with Miles Davis, and I wanted to get his name. I apologize, but a very talented musician that ended up being his mentor and helping him out. And then, obviously, as everybody knows, Christopher gets involved in drugs and selling drugs on the street. His friends, D-Rock, one of his friends, D-Rock, films everything from an early age. So it's always had a video camera. And this is in the early 90s. So just really cool how this guy just captured all this stuff. So anyway, he gets into selling drugs and always doing music and always doing rapping, but selling drugs. And then P. Diddy comes into his life and kind of mentors him and signs him. But the thing was really cool is, and I'm not a huge rap fan, but one of the things they showed is how the rap kind of developed in the Brooklyn area. Like one street was different rappers from another street, and just the sounds that came out of it. I mean, the rappers that came out of Christopher's high school was Busta Rhymes, Jay-Z, all out of the same high school. It's insane. Wow. And so anyway, that's kind of how he developed his skills and stuff, but he was still selling drugs. And then he went down to North Carolina. They found out that North Carolina people pay more money for crack cocaine than the people in Brooklyn. So these guys headed down to North Carolina to sell drugs. P. Diddy's calling Christopher going, do you want to make a life in drugs or do you want to make a life in music kind of thing? So it was very inspirational in that part. There was some really funny scenes that I just cracked up. Like one of his friends, as you know, rappers have a lot of entourage people and friends growing up. Well, one of his friends, it was so funny. It reminded me of that scene in Rocky when Paulie's working at the meat place, and he wants to work for Rocky so bad, right? So he just starts crying to Rocky like, I can't do this anymore, right? Well, this kind of scene happens in this documentary. But the guy, I swear to God, I spilt my freaking wine all over the place. The guy goes, Biggie, man, you got to make it because I can't keep robbing people. That's what he said. He had to keep going, robbing people. I'm like, oh my God. So that was just a funny scene. And another funny scene was also Christopher Wallace was an English major, man. This guy was smart, educated, was a wordsmith, and very knowledgeable. And he liked all kinds of music. Another funny scene was exactly like I said, D-Rock filmed everything. So every little scene in a hotel room when they're gigging. It was very funny. Christopher Wallace one time said, man, I can't fall asleep without listening to country music. That just cracked me up, man. I just love that line when he said that. And another thing that was really interesting, they smoked a lot of blunts and stuff in the hotel rooms. But there was one scene where, because they kind of went all over the place, they would go back and forth. Like when his son was born, they went back to show when he was born with his mother, kind of thing. So the documentary, the biography, kind of goes back and forth in life. But there was this one scene where I forgot where I was going to go with that, but he was just I told you about the country music scene, but anyway, that's what I want to say. So he's got he's in a hotel room. They're smoking blunts. He's got at least a $50,000 watch on, and they're in the shittiest hotel I've ever seen. So I don't understand who their travel agent was. The guy was making money, but he was staying in really low end hotels. I think it was because of the smoke and drugs, because I don't think you can do that at the Marriott or whatever. But anyway, that was kind of interesting to see. But anyway, then he obviously became famous. His first album, Life After Death, kind of crazy. His albums, Life After Death, and I think the other one was like Before I Die or something like that. So his two last albums are crazy names for what happens to him at the end. But anyway, as he gets a little bit more famous, there's this big and P. Diddy signs him and everything, and he comes out with that first album, meets his wife, he has a kid. His mother is so sweet in this whole thing. She's just grounded him forever, and she knew what he was doing sometimes, but she just kept him grounded. Just a sweet lady. But anyway, and then that East-West Coast rap kind of feud started happening, and Tupac Shakur was actually shot before Tupac Shakur died. Obviously, he was murdered, but he was shot first, like in 1995, I think. He was shot 5 times and he lived. Well, he thought Christopher Wallace did that, and Christopher Wallace denied it. And later on in 2012, it came out that some guy in prison actually said, I had nothing. Christopher Wallace had nothing to do with that first attempted murder. Now, the second attempted murder, which was successful on Tupac Shakur, everybody just blamed Christopher Wallace for that because of the first incident. So, he kind of had it out for him. And then I don't know why, but he decides to go to L.A. on March 9th of 1997. And he does like a radio show out there. And then that night he gets gunned down as well. So he died on March 9th in 1997. Just a really good. I don't know. I really don't like his music a lot. I love his one hit Juicy Fruit. Or Fruity Juicy. I don't know if you remember the old song Juicy Fruit, but he takes it from that. And I don't know if you guys remember the Gum, but I love the Gum with all the anyway.
Who didn't? Sal?
Yeah. Anyway, unfortunately, man, the guy passes away. He was murdered, but man, he went out. He was a very successful artist. Got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2020. Sold over 28 million records, 21 million downloads. I mean, the guy could flat out rap, man. And they have a lot of scenes where he's just rapping on the streets of Brooklyn, like just with people around him and just freelancing rap and stuff. Just amazing. I give it a 5 tomato sauce jars, man. I definitely think you guys should. It's a great documentary.
All right, 5 of them.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Impressed.
Yeah,
5 is
So
good.
he's
We
a
don't
Rock
see
and Roll
5 very
you know
often.
who isn't? Warren Zevon. And that's a crime that needs to be rectified immedially.
Yeah,
That's great. I got to check out this Biggie show. Okay, I love watching documentaries on especially pop culture things that I completely missed or that I wasn't really a part of or didn't follow. I find it fascinating to see what I miss. It's amazing how as many things as you're a part of in life that certain things just get completely missed.
There was a biography, a fictional biography, loosely based on real life events called Notorious that came out a few years back. That's it's not the best movie, but it's okay. And is a pretty good storytelling. I actually am a big fan of his music. I'm not a huge hip hop guy, but in terms of the lyrical poetry, he's right up there with the best. Eminem being right near the top of that list. Yeah. And pretty amazing the collaborations with him and Diddy. Pretty amazing to see him. To see that, so I definitely have to catch that this.
Yeah, and you know, let's face it, man. The guy ain't some skinny rapper on stage like showing his abs. I mean, the guy was 6'3", 300. They said 300 to 380. So that guy fluctuated his weight. But anyway, he didn't care about his looks, man. He just did it on stage, man. He was a beast.
Talented, yeah,
very talented.
Anyway,
Very good.
Casey Ryan Plot, who put the Ryan back.
nice.
Casey, thank you, buddy.
It was all a dream, CRP.
And then this one's for you, Bob. He's sending
Yes,
lawyers
thank you,
money to
Casey.
get.
Yes.
Bob and
Yeah.
and Dave Letterman, the heads of the Warren Zevon fan club.
Oh,
There's a
One of
Warren
the
Zevon
many reasons I love
documentary.
Letterman.
There's a Warren Zevon documentary about that last album he made just when he knew he was dying.
yes. The
Yeah.
wind.
That's-
It's awesome.
It's amazing. All right, let's move on to our
Yeah, it
final
really is.
show.
Yeah,
This one's called High Score. I have seen a couple episodes of this, so I'm excited to hear
yeah.
from Howard the rest of the story.
So, I mean, you know, having grown up as a kid and then an adolescent and then, you know, a teen during the heart of the video game, you know, proliferation in the U.S., this documentary just totally hit me. It hit me from a nostalgia standpoint. Just, oh, cool, I remember that. But then the more you get into each episode, the stories are amazing. So it's a 6-part documentary on Netflix. And the cool thing is each of the 6 episodes is a very specific part of the story they're telling. The first episode is the launch of video games, which really Space Invaders was the key that launched. The second episode was post Atari, the monopolization by Atari. There was a crash between 83 and 85. And really what they say caused the crash were 2 video games. It was Pac-Man and E.T. for the Atari 2600 that just destroyed any interest
The worst.
in anything. The 2 worst video games. But what brought it back was Donkey Kong and the NES system. So that was the second episode. The third episode was all about role-playing games, really, and how it was the first time that you could be part of the game, customize your character, be part of the game.
Yep.
The fourth episode, which I thought was the most fascinating to me, was the Nintendo versus Sega war and how Sega marketed to steal Nintendo's characters, that they were the cool one. Nintendo was not edgy. Everybody had a Nintendo. If you were cool, and the whole Sega, it was amazing. For being a marketer, I found that fascinating.
Say that again.
Sega. Then the 5th episode was all about fighting games. And then the 6th episode was really about the transformation of 2D to 3D in terms of gaming. So that was the gist of it. But the stories that came out of these little occurrences and random crossed paths, for lack of a better term, that became huge events and made millionaires out of computer hackers that were working in basement dark offices. So, for example, these 3 guys that were in college that started messing around with Missile Command in their dorm lobby
Love that
because
game.
it was so easy that everybody could just play forever. So on a whim, they decided to start creating and hacking. There were, computer guys. They could start. They coded and created. I can't remember what the name of it was, but basically there were mods that they would sell in a plastic bag, a chipset, to some business owner, some guy, a hotel owner that had a Missile Command in his game room that made the games harder and thereby more money making, because now they were putting more and more quarters in. They ended up getting sued by, I think it was Atari that made Missile Command. But when they finally settled, instead of, it was Midway, that's who it was. Instead of just suing them, they basically contracted with them to create a mod for their current biggest game, which was Pac-Man, and the mod became Miss Pac-Man. So they became a huge company
Pac-Man was monstrous.
programming mods, which turned into new games. Stories like that. For another one, a guy who was just he got hired at this budding company called Electronic Arts. They had just made Madden Football, and the story of how Madden Football came to be is talked about. And he was African American, and he was just an assistant level guy. But he eventually became a program developer and consultant, and he was the one that pushed for characters of color to be included, which really up to that point, there was no video game character that any minority could connect with seeing themselves in a game, which you don't think about that, but yeah, it was all just block characters. Pretty amazing. The other thing I thought was really cool was they showed during a number of these games, especially the fighting episode, these huge tournaments for Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. And that was they were actually tournaments where, you'd play in a regional qualifier and go to play. And that was the precursor to esports, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry now. That was where they developed this. They talk about this first ever Nintendo tour where you had to have multiple skill sets. That this one guy was the first ever Nintendo Grand Champion, and they show the events live, and you just look at them in some hotel ballroom or convention center or mall courtyard, and you look at now they're filling 20,000 plus seat arenas with viewership online streaming higher than NBA playoff games. I thought it was fascinating. Again, I'm interested because I've been in a video game my whole life, but it was fascinating. Oh, the guys who developed this guy who is now a millionaire, probably metalhead, who at the time was an 18-year-old metalhead, and they worked on code for a company that created Wolfenstein 3D. It was the first ever 3D game. And the story of how they marketed this new game, that they sent a press release 8 months in advance of when the game was being released, which is unheard of, saying our game is going to be the best computer game ever. We promise you. Like, who does that? Sends a press release saying it's going to be the best. Then you're on an artificial deadline to create the best. And the game they created was the first ever game that was networkable online or LAN against friends, and it was Doom. And it was an absolutely groundbreaking game. id Software was their company, which became multi-billion-dollar company. And it's crazy how these stories developed out of nowhere. I thought it was fascinating. I highly recommend it.
It sounds like an amazing documentary, Howard. It sounds right up my alley. I'm actually going to jump all over this.
It's really cool. The only kind of creepy thing, which is kind of funny, and it goes to what somebody else mentioned in one of the earlier reviews, they put a lot of they have a lot of computer graphics that they're showing as kind of a drama. Instead of a dramatization, they're showing computer graphics of things as they may have happened. It was a little dorky, but okay.
Well, you convinced Casey Ryan Plott, so that's
nice.
And thanks everyone for all the comments that are coming in. Sorry we can't read them all. I just didn't want to interrupt Howard.
Howard, I got a question. Did you find out who invented Galaga and Centipede during the show?
I don't think they mentioned those two specifically, but
I used to play those. Yeah. That's why.
They showed another one. They showed the guy Nolan Bushnell, who was the guy that created Atari, and they showed him, and they talk about him, and it was a game called Space War from literally like the late '60s, and they were showing it, and it was asteroids. It was. I mean, when you see it, you go, that's asteroids. And then that's all they did was they just advanced the game but it was, 15 years before Asteroids actually came out.
It was
just
So Howard, I have to tell you. So Donkey Kong was one of my very favorite games, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, but Donkey Kong 2, I was really, really good at. And
Donkey Kong Jr.
Donkey Kong Jr., the second one, right? So I went to Cedar Point. This is about 5 years ago, and sure enough, they've got an old arcade there with the old machines, and there it is, Donkey Kong Jr. And I immediately got the high score. Put my name in as FOH because Ohio, FOH, and the epilogue to the story, Howard, is I went back with my other daughter for band camp back to Cedar Point again a year later, still number one on that same
That's
machine.
because you were probably the only one who's played it.
Hey guys, we are at the end. I want everyone to be able to say goodbye.
Nice.
Bob, we missed Bob's birthday last week. Happy birthday to Bob.
Oh, happy birthday, Bob.
Say goodbye,
Thank
Bob.
you. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
We say goodbye. Great job.
Thanks. I'll be here all week.
Sal, say goodnight.
By here, I mean my couch.
Good night, everybody.
Night,
Zach,
Sal.
say goodnight, my friend.
Good night, good night, good night, good night.
Our special guest, Fred. Say goodnight, buddy.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for hanging out.
Ron.
Yes. Good night, everybody. Have a great week.
Everybody. Hey, and thank you everyone for joining us once again for Crossing the Streams. Thanks for all the amazing comments. We appreciate everyone. I apologize. I was distracted while my other computer had a meltdown and I had tech support on the phone trying to get it up. I'm on a laptop, so sorry we couldn't read all the comments and stuff.
Could have let that one go.
I barely could.
Probably
sorry,
does.
I was on mute half the time and not knowing what was going on. But thank you to all my co-hosts here for carrying it and pulling it off. And we'll see everyone next week when we cross more streams. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Crossing the Streams, brought to you by scenesnobs.com and part of the Jeff Dwoskin Show. Your hosts, of course, Jeff Dwoskin, Sal D'Amelio, Bob Phillips, Ron Lippett, and Howard Rosner. Follow us all on the socials, and we'll see you next week and every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Mark your calendars. We're going live and crossing more streams.